It's time for a review of what's making the headlines in the papers this morning with the Rise News analyst, Dr. Constance Ikoku, joining us from our Lagos studio. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning, Nkechi. How are you today?
How are you doing?
I am very well. And Yolanda, I hope you're doing great.
I am. Good morning, Dr. Constance.
Very good morning to you. To look at the papers with us today, we have Hamza Idris. He is the acting editor-in-chief and chairman editorial board of Daily Trust. Hello there and welcome to a program. We'll begin with this day. There we have two stories quickly. To look at Lukman, coalition will avoid past mistakes of Atiku Obi to defeat Tinubu in 2027. And Boss Mustafa Buhari allowed institutions to work, prioritized structure over showmanship. Malam Salihu Lukman, one of the leaders of the African Democratic Congress, says the party's presidential candidate must emerge through the primary process and the candidate must earn it. He also said whether it's Peter Obi or Atiku Abubakar that emerges, the party will support them and urge the opposition to come together in order to not repeat the mistakes of the past. So it means Atiku is probably still in the running. On the Buhari story, Boss Mustafa, who was the secretary to the government under that administration, argued that former President Muhammadu Buhari will be remembered for a legacy defined by institutional reform and disciplined leadership, prioritizing real governance over flamboyance. Well, it's an interesting, not sure if this is an accurate analysis of a government that everybody lived through for 8 years. Buhari's government seemed like it was on autopilot and struggled to coordinate a coherent response to pressing national issues. It was like a ship in a stormy water with no clear course and without a competent captain. And as for the ADC, the major mistake in 2023 may have been that Atiku and Obi ran at the same time, thereby dissipating the votes and then maybe not defending the votes after everything that happened. Your take on this, Hamza?
Well, good morning. I am happy to be here. To start with the Atiku and Obi, obviously, as you rightly said, they all stood on their own. And when you look at the votes, assuming they coalesce into a force, definitely they will have defeated Tinubu. Because at that time, I think Tinubu got 8.7 million votes, Atiku around 6.9, and Obi 6.1, and then Konkoso 1 point something. So if you put the votes of Atiku and Obi, that will have translated to around 13 million or thereabout, meaning clearly they will have defeated Tinubu. But then they all wanted to be president, and here we are now in another round. And as Salu Lukman said, you know, he was a chieftain of the APC at that time, and he was also the national vice president, you know, from the Northwest. So he made a valid point there that they would not make the mistake. But the facts out there correct. If you look at what is coming from the two camps, they still have a lot to slog out. And unless they do it very well and on time, the likelihood is that history will repeat itself. And for the former SGF, I don't want to join. I have enormous respect for him, but then there is this tendency of hero worship. But for us in the media, you know, we work with the facts. Whether Tinubu was instrumental to the emergence of Buhari, the facts are there. Buhari, since 2003, he had contested, and his votes hovered between 6 and 12 million votes. He had to now, you know, extend handshake across the Niger through the instrumentality of some people. I know that in our medium, we interviewed key people like Senator Abu Ibrahim, I remember, in March 2022. And he explained the role played by Tinubu in the emergence of Buhari. We also interviewed the current vice president in 2022. He also said the North will betray the South if they fail to actually extend overtures to the emergence of Tinubu because of the role he played. So to cut the story short, I think we will not revisit history. Facts are there. If politicians twist facts in order to massage ego, in order to achieve a premeditated goal, I think we in the media should not be part of that. Whether Buhari performed or he did not perform, the facts are there. Whether Tinubu is performing or is not performing, we are looking forward to 2027. The votes definitely is not about the politicians there who are ranting, but between Nigerians who are, passing through hardship and then the politicians.
Yeah, Hamza, I would like you to really speak to the legacy of former President Buhari, which Boss Mustafa talked about. You are from that part of the country, and we know that during that period, a lot of people were unable or did not criticize the president in spite of all that happened in the country. What do you think is his legacy, both in that part of the country and in other parts of Nigeria?
I'm from Katsina, to be precise, not far from Daura. I'm from Adua local government. So I know what happened. I know what my people went through when the borders were closed, and I know the pressure mounted by my family, extended family, on my salary. So if those around Buhari believe that he performed, here we are now. If you check the papers, if you just Google and say, okay, Buhari, you will see the facts there. Even this government. So I think we should forget about the politicians and talk about the real facts. And Nigerians better off now. And then during Buhari's time, those around him, have they told him the truth? Some people said, of course, when he looked back now, he has certain legacies to say, okay, I have allowed, the National Assembly or the media to actually, do what they want to do in the aura of freedom and all that. But then some of the policies, have they really impacted positively on the electorate? And if he were to come back now, I saw it somewhere jokingly, people are saying that Tinubu should take Nigerians back to the era of Buhari, while millions of others are saying that Buhari should take back Nigerians to the era of Jonathan, meaning that we are retrogressing. Whether those in authority or those who have lost grip of power are trying to eulogize their time and all that, I think we can only get the clearer picture by talking to the man on the street, someone who was waking up this morning with children to feed, and he doesn't even have a worker, a civil servant, doesn't even have the means to take himself to the office. I think this is the crisis bedeviling Nigeria, not the ranting of the politicians.
Right. Many people believe that Buhari would wave a magic wand and all the problems of Nigeria would go away, but the man was totally demystified under that government. Let's move on quickly to Daily Trust. We uncovered mind-boggling corruption in oil sector, according to the EFCC. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission says the ongoing probe into that sector is only a scratch in the surface of, even as the agency urged the National Assembly to pass a law criminalizing unexplained wealth. The probe into the oil sector has been on for about 3 weeks. Nkechi, the EFCC is right to be appalled at the level of malfeasance in this sector, siphoning of revenues meant for schools, hospitals, infrastructure. All this entrenches poverty. It also distorts the markets, inflates contracts, and, honestly discourages investment. But making the statements without thoroughly cleaning the house, people ending up in jail, amounts to just talk. And can a new law on unexplained wealth really do it? Nkechi, what do you think?
I mean, I'm just going to try and be optimistic. This pattern is painfully familiar to us, right? When we have a new person heading the EFCC and maybe there's a probe in the oil and gas industry, we hear the same thing. We hear about opaque contracts. We hear about refinery funds that are being siphoned. I think the former CFO of NNPC right now is in talks, is in the custody of the EFCC. I don't think this unexplained wealth bill is going to move anything forward. We already have laws in place. The EFCC already has mandates when they have evidence to go for people who have embezzled funds, who have misused funds, and who have basically just been negligent in their jobs. So I think the EFCC can do better. Yes, you've told us that your preliminary findings from the probe in NNPC issues and their actions and inactions have showed us mind-boggling embezzlement, mind-boggling corruption. What we want to see now is naming, shaming, people going to court, people going to jail. A new bill, a new act, a new law is not what we need right now. We have laws in place.
Definitely. A new Telegraph this morning, 2027, Tinubu didn't make Buhari president. Boss Mustafa says as military leader already had over 12 million existing votes. Major brought in 3 million votes. We've already discussed that. Hamza was able to give us his analysis of that story. So let's leave it alone and move on to Daily Independent. There, U.S. visa restrictions, it's about reciprocity on Nigeria. Experts, UAE stops transit visa for Nigerians. We're seeing tighter rules coming our way from everywhere. There's another story at the bottom. TED Fund threatens to delist underperforming beneficiary institutions. The Tertiary Education Trust Fund spoke about institutions not properly utilizing funds. It emphasized the institution's focus on research and innovation that generate practical solutions to national problems, particularly healthcare, technology, and agriculture. It says it's not interested in increasing funds for various initiatives. Very apt, some of the initiatives generated from government-funded projects are mostly performative rather than solving problems. And yes, if we're graduating students every year that are unable to solve problems, then we have a question, about the education that we are providing the kids with. Yolanda, if you want to jump in here.
Thank you, Dr. Constance. I think that this news on the new visa restrictions is quite sad. Yesterday, the report that came out about the UAE stopping the transit visa, and we're just coming out from the news of the US putting more visa restrictions on Nigerians. And this is so unfortunate because it seems like only a certain demographic of people is affected by these changes. This does not apply for diplomats or diplomatic entities that are affiliated. So it's really tough already for the everyday man. So seeing that there's more restrictions coming across. Yesterday we spoke as well very briefly about how even the cost of traveling abroad nowadays has become so exorbitant. And now adding on further restrictions on Nigerians is just a really tough pill to swallow with what we're facing already.
All right, the Guardian newspaper. Here, international travel restrictions spark fresh row over absence of ambassadors. We still don't have ambassadors in our missions around the world. This issue surfaced again, it's been 2 years and the country does not have ambassadors worldwide. I interviewed the Minister of Foreign Affairs on this subject last year, and he was unable to provide a solid explanation. Other than that, it's the president's prerogative, which is true. And he also said we do have scheduled affairs in the missions. The government can give excuses, but we cannot change the fact that ambassadors are the face of a nation abroad. Without them, a country's voice is often missing from key global conversations. Bilateral relations sometimes can suffer, and international cooperation weakens. And it just signals weak diplomatic engagement and diminished global standing. Hamza, your thoughts on this, please?
It's really painful. for Nigeria, for 2 years, we claim to be the giant of Africa. And as you rightly said, charge their affairs, they will never replace the positions of ambassadors. Ambassadors are like presidents because they represent the president all over the world. And when you go around now, we don't have them. What are the reasons? They've been claiming that before they don't really, give them the resources. Most of the embassies don't have, money to run their affairs. But then where are we taking all the monies we have? Before we came into this studio, I read somewhere, someone saying before they remove subsidy, they said they want to stop borrowing, and that is why they remove subsidy. Now they have a lot of money. It appears that the resources at the disposal of government has made it confused as to what to actually use the money for. It's an indictment on us as a country. It's an indictment on the administration. And it appears that our foreign policy is collapsing on our heads. And Nigeria cannot operate in isolation. This is the time for the president to act. He must appoint ambassadors across the world.
Well, we'll be waiting to hear from the president on that. A Vanguard newspaper, 2027, don't underestimate Tinubu, Ribadu wants opposition. When you read the story, actually, the details are a bit different from the headline. The National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, was talking about underestimating the president's commitment to transforming Nigeria and his leadership as well. He wasn't speaking expressly of underestimating his capacity to win the 2027 elections. But anyway, Ribadu has been a champion of the president, using every opportunity to tell us that Nigeria is safer and better under President Bola Tinubu. Well, not everyone agrees with him. The counter-argument here is that almost everything seems to be on a free fall in Kechi.
We know that the NSA, whenever he picks up the microphone, he always tries to remind us that Nigeria is safer, it's more stable, it's open for business. But on the other hand, you have, like what our analyst has been saying, we need to speak to the people on the streets. We need to speak to the masses. What are they feeling? The people in Borno, the people in Zamfara, the people in Bauchi, what are they going through? You also have data coming out from Reuters saying that, look, over 857 abductions in the first half of 2025 alone. Excuse me. So this doesn't really match with what the NSA is always talking about. So I think what we need, and also I would also like to talk about communication styles when it comes to how Nigerian politicians, Nigerian people in authority communicate with us. When you're saying things like that, Nigeria is more stable, Nigeria is more secure, we need to back that up with data, we need to back that up with statistics. You need to tell us how we've improved with the numbers compared to maybe the former administration. I think that communication style is very important as well, because we go to all these events, the book launch yesterday, and politicians pick up the mic and just say whatever they want to Nigerians.
Yeah, indeed, Nkechi, they say whatever they want. Daily Sun has, a lot of very solid stories on its front page. Let's look at them quickly. Banks intensify merger talks. We know that there's that recapitalization exercise going on. So I'm hearing for the first time there will be mergers. Then speed up constitution review. Conference of Speakers urge National Assembly. Senate passes bill to reform power sector, criminalize national grid vandalism. Yes, a lot of vandalism going on in the country. Then Leadership newspaper. Here we have Akume Almakura, Dariye, others in race for APC chair. Is all the same people, And then 3-month single entry visa. A 3-month single entry visa will affect partnership cooperation, FG tells the U.S. Then moving on to the international headlines, Daily Graphic. natural gas supply to increase. This is Ghana's effort to stabilize the power sector in that country. Then the Citizen newspaper, no power, water for 300 schools, water and electricity were cut due to unpaid bills amounting to almost 600 rand in Gauteng province. Many of those affected are non-paying schools. They don't pay school fees, so that's a crisis for them. Daily Mail, proof work doesn't pay under labor. We have the same story in the Daily Telegraph, and the caption there says, benefits pay more than being in work. So sickness benefits to be more than £2,500 a year. So it's more than the minimum wage, and people are saying that this is shocking. It comes after Prime Minister Keir Starmer capitulated to a backbench rebellion to reform the system that would have saved the UK £5 billion. That's a dependency crisis. The question is, why should you work when you can be paid and not to work? At the same time, MPs rebelled against the reform to stop abuse in the system. The point here is there has to be a way to continue providing help to those who truly need it, while also weeding out the abusers of the system. Hamza, any thoughts on this story in the UK?
Very interesting. You know, when I read it, that is what we call here safety nets. Yes, every citizen is catered for, but the debate there is that if you are ill and you are certified to be, you are certified to be ill by competent doctors, meaning the state will take care of you. But then I saw Kemi, trying to kick against that. She's going to talk, I think, today or tomorrow, that why should someone who is out of work and then because he's sick, he will be earning more than the minimum wage of someone who goes out to work every day. I just hope that we learn some things from there. Of course, the luxury is too enormous in the UK and other countries. But here, now compare that huge amount earmarked for someone who is ill and out of work with what a professor here in university earns. I think this is the lesson we should drive, that we have a long way to go to actually make our citizens also have reason to live. Many Nigerians are now asking whether life is worth living, and I think this is a big challenge to our politicians.
All right, the Guardian newspaper, Labour MPs call on PM to tackle cost of living crisis. This comes amid fears Labour could lose the next election and bleeds voters to the Reform UK and other parties on the left. They're talking about food, energy, healthcare, and housing costs. Yolanda, the fear is real. Labour is currently not in good shape. Is it mainly due to the tough decisions they have to take?
Fear is real, and I was also just trying to add a comment which I think links the two stories in a sort of way, that to just put some detail to that story. The ill people who are getting these benefits are earning £25,000 an annum, while someone who is on minimum wage is earning £22,000, and that disparity just leaves these glaring numbers in your face. And I think that when these laws were being put into place, and all these benefits and tackling this cost of living, the intentions were good. The intentions were to help people, were to help those who are less fortunate, those who are dealing with long-term sicknesses. But it's very unfortunate that, as the saying already goes, good intentions, they mark they pave the road to hell. That's what they say. So it's really just sad to see this kind of thing. The UK has been struggling in the past almost years now, almost like 2 years. We've been having these reports back to back about how the cost of living is rising and becoming unbearable.
Oh, okay,
but if those that's fine. But if those laws are not looked at more closely, then it's also just downhill straight from there.
All right, Hamza Idris, who is the acting editor-in-chief Chairman Editorial Board of Daily Trust. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Katie. Thank you all.
Constance Atiku for joining us this morning from our Lagos studio. That's all the time we have here for you on Daybreak. Thanks for watching. I'm Kechi Nana.
That's right, and I'm Yolanda Robert. Please do keep it here on Arise News. The morning show is coming up next. Good morning.